Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste once again, everyone.
Namaste.
Tatastutau lakshanaya sulaksyau tayorakandaicara sattva siddhaye nalam jahatya na tata jahatya kintu bhayartat mitmikatyaiva bhavyam kintu bhayatatmikayaiva bhavyam atmikayaiva bhavyam. So, Tattvamasi, which proclaims the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. This is the Mahavakyam we are discussing. We are trying to unfold how to understand this Mahavakyam. Given the vast differences in the respective attributes, that is the attributes of Jiva and Ishvara, we are trying to decode this Mahavakyam and trying to make sense of this Upanishad Vakya. And as we saw, most words have two sets of meanings. One is the conventional meaning or the primary meaning, which we call Vachyartha. And we were seeing in the last class that if we take the conventional meaning of the words, then the equation will not work. And therefore, we should not take the conventional meaning, but we have to take the special or implied meaning called Lakshyartha. And this Lakshyartha can be arrived at by employing Lakshana, the method of implication. There we saw three types of implications are possible. Jahati Lakshana, Ajahati Lakshana, and Jahati Ajahati Lakshana or Ubhaya Lakshana, as Adi Shankara calls it in this shloka. Or we have also seen that it is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Bhagatyaga Lakshana. So Shankaracharya said in this verse, that is 78, we are seeing that in understanding the equation of the Mahavakyam, Jahati Lakshana cannot be applied. Ajahati Lakshana cannot be applied. So we have to apply only the third Lakshana, which is Jahati Ajahati Lakshana. Of course, Adi Shankara does not use that word. He says, Ubhaya Artha Atmaika Eva Bhavyam. Ubhaya Artha means mixture of both. Ubhayam means both. Mixture of both. Jahati Ajahati Lakshana. So we have to take that meaning only. Because in different texts, different words are used. Jahati Lakshana is also sometimes called Jahal Lakshana. It's all the play of Sandhi rules of Sanskrit language. Okay. It is Jahat Lakshana, Biham Jahal Lakshana. There is a sutra called Torli, Panini Sutra. So there, the Ta becomes La. So Jahat becomes Jahal when the Ta is followed by La, L, then T becomes L. So there will be two L. Jahat Lakshana becomes Jahal Lakshana. Similarly, Ajahati Lakshana or Ajahat Lakshana will become Ajahal Lakshana. So if you by chance come across these kind of different terminologies, don't get confused. They all mean the same thing only. So third one, as I said, Jahati, Ajahati Lakshana can be called Jahatal, Jahatal Lakshana. Or sometimes become tongue twisters. Or easy way, popular name for the third one is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Or just Bhaga Lakshana, you can say. So that alone we have to apply to the Mahavakya. And after stating that the undivided oneness of Jiva and Ishvara should be understood by applying the Lakshyartha based on this Jahati Ajahati Lakshana or Bhagatyaga Lakshana and not by taking Vachyartha, the Acharya is now describing the process of applying the Lakshyartha. And in the last class, we were trying to understand the application of this third type of Bhagatyaga Lakshana through a contemporary example. What was that? I asked all of you to imagine that I am in conversation with a person named Rama, who was a college mate of mine some 50 years ago. We were in the same class and often used to sit next to each other in the classroom. Not only that, we were also living in the same hostel block, which was called Godavari. We were thick friends. And I have met him after a very long time. I have met Rama after a very long time, and I am now in conversation with him. Now, there is a lot to catch up. So we were having a beautiful, nice conversation. And as even we are conversing, one sannyasi in saffron robes, who is known to me, walks in. Of course, as a matter of courtesy, we both of us greet him. And I asked my friend Rama, do you recognize this person who has just come? My friend Rama looks at him head to toe several times, trying to recollect, but he is not able to do so. Then I try to explain. I ask Rama, do you remember that during our college days when we were staying in the Godavari hostel, there was one handsome boy with curly hair, fair complexioned, who was living in the adjacent hostel called Narmada. His name was Krishna. If you recall, he was very popular in the college and he used to take part in all competitions, etc. Do you remember that Krishna? I explain all this to stimulate Rama's memory. Excuse me. Do you remember that Krishna? You know, he was also a very good singer and he used to give performance in college programs. He used to sing wonderful bhajans. And whenever we used to have, some general meetings of all the college students, our principal used to call this Krishna to sing a bhajan in the beginning of that session. Do you remember all this? So after a few minutes and some more explanations, my friend Rama recollects. Yes, yes. There was one Krishna in Narmada hostel. I now remember. Then to confirm this, he asks me, is he the one who used to do yoga very well? Then I say, yes, now that you got it, that is that Krishna only I am referring to. Then my friend Rama asks, okay, why are you talking about that Krishna now? What is the connection between that Krishna and this sannyasi who has joined us now? Are they related? I tell him, Rama, that Krishna and this sannyasi are not related. In fact, that Krishna is this sannyasi. Now he is Swami Krishnananda Saraswati. My friend is shocked. He says, my God, this is our college mate Krishna, totally different now. Why? Because all his features are different. Then I make a Mahavakyam statement. That Narmada hostel Krishna is this Swami Krishnananda. That is the equation. Now, if you look at the Vachyartha, the direct meaning, there will be so many problems. The equation will not stand. First problem is the pronoun itself. That is a pronoun, isn't it? When I say that Krishna, that Narmada hostel Krishna, when I use the pronoun that, it is used for something which is remote in terms of time and space. So here, that refers to the college hostel 50 years ago. And the pronoun this refers to proximate, close by time and space. Therefore, pronouns that and pronoun this can never be combined. They are contradictory. What is far away cannot be close by, and what is close by cannot be far away. So that and this can never be combined, but I have combined. I have said that Krishna is this Krishnananda. This is contradiction number one. Second contradiction is what? That college mate Krishna had a set of physical features, young, youthful features. As a bachelor, he was clean shaven, curly hair, bright, sparkling eyes, very flexible body, yoga expert. All that was there. Now, this Swami Krishnananda, with a big beard, mostly, all gray hair, bald, and whatever is left is also gray. The sparkling eyes are gone. Instead, now he is wearing eyeglasses with a thick frame. Then he was very thin and, athletic. Now he has got a slight paunch, but not a pot belly, slight paunch. So physical features are totally different. How can that youthful bachelor Krishna and this aging Swami Krishnananda ever be equated? So, but that is a fact. I have stated a Mahavakyam that Narmada hostel Krishna is this Swami Krishnananda. So Mahavakyam, I have tried to equate two things which apparently cannot be equated. Therefore, this equation is to be understood only by giving up the Vachyartha and all those things which are contradictory between that college mate and this Swami. So what are contradictory? We saw the word that and this, representing time and space. They are contradictory. So first we have to remove the time and space. Past and present we have to remove, and all the physical features which are contradictory also we have to remove. Remove means not physically, mentally we have to remove. Thus, having removed the contradictory features, if you see the person behind the Swamiji, he will say, yes, I am that Krishna who was staying in Narmada hostel, who has taken sannyasa, and now I am Krishnananda. Soham asmi. Saha aham asmi. That is me. I am he. So when Swami says, I am he refers to that one continuous entity called the person, Vyakti Matram, which is behind all the physical features. So the same person behind the youthful features. It is the same person who is behind this aging Swami Krishnananda's physical features. Person is the same. Because we are referring to that Jiva who is behind the variable body, not to the body itself. Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. In the Gita. Gita students, we have already seen this. There is a Dehi consisting of Sukshma, Karana, Shariram, Chaitanyam, etc. There is an individual behind the changing physical features. That individual we understand when we equate the youthful Krishna with the aging Krishnananda. So here in the Vachyartha, the contradictory features we remove and set aside, but we do not remove the person. We retain the individual behind the contradictory features. And since we retain a part from the standpoint of Vyakti, the individual, it is Ajahati Lakshana. Whereas from the standpoint of contradictory physical features, which we ignore, which we set aside, remove, it is called Jahati Lakshana. So we apply both Jahati Lakshana and Ajahati Lakshana to arrive at the final meaning of that Mahavakyam, that Narmada Hostel Krishnananda is this Swami Krishna. Narmada Hostel Krishna is this Swami Krishnananda. So Jahati, Ajahati, Lakshana we apply whenever we equate a past and present person. Like for example, even when we are equating the dreamer and waker, we use this Lakshana. A dreamer is dreaming. He has got a dream body. And after waking up, he says, I dreamt of Tirupati temple. So when you say, I dreamt, you make a statement as a waker. Thus, I am equating the I, the waker of the present, and I, the dreamer of the past. Because dreaming was in the past. Now I have woken up, I am in the present. I am equating person being the same. It's a dreamer-waker equation. Whenever you equate dreamer and waker, Vachyartha cannot be applied. Because if you take the Vachyartha, the dreamer is a different person, waker is a different person. Dreamer is in a different world, dream world. Waker is in a different world. This Vyavaharika in this Bhumi. But at the same time, you cannot totally drop the Vachyartha also, because the dreamer and the waker are one and the same. Therefore, when we try to equate the dreamer and waker, we ignore the contradictory features between the two. What are the contradictory features? As I said, dreamer's body and waker's body we ignore. Dreamer's time and space and waker's time and space we ignore. Ignoring all that, we are only equating the common person. The person behind the dreamer and the person behind the waker are one and the same. And we know that what is that common unchanging principle? We have seen earlier, Sakshi Chaitanyam. Whenever you say in the waking state, I dreamt or I slept well, etc., the meaning of that word I is the Sakshi. You are equating the dreamer or the waker with either the dreamer or the sleeper, correct? In Tattva Bodha terminology, we are equating Vishwa, Taijasa and Pragya. Then you are not going by Vachyartha. Even though you don't realize it, you are unknowingly referring to the common unchanging principle called Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is ever behind all these variable features. Therefore, even in our day-to-day conversations, the use of the Jahati, Ajahati Lakshana is also very, very common. Everybody understands when you say I dreamt or I slept well, everybody understands the meaning of that word I. But on analysis, we will discover that very deep Vedanta is involved in those statements. Because even though we understand, if you say, how are you actually equating that dreamer and this waker? If you are asked, you will not have an answer. To give an answer, you require this knowledge of Vedanta. Then you can boldly say, I am not equating the changing. I have used Jahati, Ajahati, Lakshana. I have set aside all the contradictory features. I have only taken the Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is behind the dreamer, and which Sakshi, same Sakshi Chaitanyam is behind the Veka. When I say I am referring to the Sakshi Chaitanyam. This is the answer you can boldly, courageously give, because you know what you are referring to. The other person does not know it, is an ignorant person. So these are all things, when you come to Vedanta. Vedanta Shravanam should always be followed by contemplation. Contemplation means you can even use meditation, sit alone and think over what has been taught. The more you think over, the more doubts you may get. You can get those doubts clarified. So every class should be followed by a thinking session. Let it be for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. This entire process is very useful to understand the Vedic messages, Vedantic messages. Very useful. Necessary, in fact, for a serious seeker. So we have seen 3 examples, right? From last class and this class. First example, I have consumed 2 cups. Bring water. This is that Narmada hostel Krishna. Or other ones we saw, I dreamt. Or other example, wave is equal to ocean. All these examples we have seen. Now, of all these examples, I will take this Narmada hostel Krishna equation. We will apply that to understand the three implications and also understand the Mahavakyam that is said in this sloka. That is what Adi Shankara does. So we go to the second line of the verse 78. Na alam jahatya na tatha ajahatya. Jahatya means jahati, jahati lakshana. Na alam means not enough, not proper, not appropriate. So jahatya na alam. Jahati lakshana na paryapta. It is inappropriate in Mahavakyam. You cannot apply Jahati lakshana to a Mahavakyam and derive the meaning. Then he says, na tata ajahatya alam. We have to add alam to this. Alam is used one, but we have to use it twice. So we have to split tata ajahatya as tata ajahatya. That means what? Ajahati lakshana is also aparyapta. Alam, not appropriate. Then which one is? Kintu ubhaya artatmikaya eva bhavyam. Kintu, on the other hand, but you can say, ubhaya artatmikaya eva. Ubhaya artatmikaya lakshanaya eva. Which means you should use a lakshana which contains ubhaya artha eva. Ubhaya artha means, as I said, both jahati lakshana artha and ajahati lakshana artha. Therefore, take a meaning which contains both partial inclusion of vachyartha and partial exclusion of vachyartha. Ubhayartha yuktaya eva. Jahati lakshana, ajahati lakshana yuktaya eva bhavyam. Bhavyam means is admissible or should be employed. Ubhaya artatmikaya lakshanaya bhavyam. That alone you should take, you should use, you should employ. Therefore, when you say, I am God, you did not shudder or feel bad at all. If people say, oh, this fellow thinks too much of himself, let them say. Well, they don't know what you are meaning by saying, I am God. Advaitin comfortably uses the word I am God when he says I am God by Jahat. So when he says I am God by Jahati Lakshana, he sets aside the three bodies, Sharira Trayam at the individual level. But through Ajahati Lakshana, he keeps the consciousness principle. The Sakshi Chaitanyam retains it. Similarly, in the word God, he removes the Maya. Maya part he removes, which is what makes the God appear superior, a creator, etc. That Maya part he removes by Jahati Lakshana. And by applying Ajahati Lakshana, he retains the consciousness principle. God is the all-pervading consciousness. Thus, I, the consciousness in the body, and God, the all-pervading consciousness, both are one and the same. I, the enclosed consciousness behind the body, and God, the all-pervading consciousness, which appears as existence everywhere, both are one and the same. Therefore, I need not feel bad at all by saying, I am God. And not only that, if I assimilate this, it's a very, very big relief because I will know how to look at the body objectively from the standpoint of consciousness. There's a Gita sloka, Matra Sparsha Stu Kaunteya, Toshna Sukha Dukkada. That sloka I can apply. Body will come, body will go. Mind will be happy, mind will be unhappy. Life is a continuous change. I can witness all those changes without reaction, remaining well anchored in Atma, the consciousness principle. Therefore, this knowledge is very, very useful even on a day-to-day basis. We can say, I am God without any conflict, without feeling ashamed, without feeling that it is a sacrilege. In fact, the Upanishad itself says how a student, after understanding the Vedanta, claims. Kaivalya Upanishad, Mayyeva Sakalam Jatam, Mayi Sarvam Pratishtitam, Mayi Sarvam Layam Yati, Tad Brahma Advayam Asiyaham, Tad Brahma Advayam Asyaham. Student can say boldly, without any reservation, I am the cause of this creation. I create, I sustain, I resolve. We can claim. And we should be able to say that if we want moksha. Because moksha is nothing but disassociation, disidentifying yourself from all this problem-ridden body, mind, sense complex, and establishing your identity with that consciousness which is all pervading. Moksha is nothing but understanding, assimilating the knowledge that Jivatma and Paramatma are not different. It is referring to the one and the same entity. That is what he has established now. Now, Shankaracharya is going to elaborate on this third Lakshana in the following two verses. One thing you must remember, that we are now studying selected 108 verses of the original text, which has got 555 verses. So many verses in the middle have been omitted. We have used Jahati Lakshana to discard those verses. So when you go to the original text, you will find a lot more verses where Adi Shankara has explained, elaborated on the usage of this Jahati Ajahati Lakshana. But then, given the restrictions, Swami Paramarthananda ji chose these two verses for explaining this. What Adi Shankara said, Ubhayartatmikayeva bhavyam. When he said the third Lakshana alone is to be used, that elaboration of the third Lakshana he gives in the next two slokas. So in the following two slokas, he is going to say how it is to be implemented. So we will take both the slokas together because there's a continuity. They form one sentence. So we will read. quite a involved sloka, sir. I mean, the Anvaya will be long and word meanings also will be very detailed. Sadeva dattoyamiti hachaikata viruddha dharmam shamapasya kathyate yatha tata tattvamasi vakye viruddha dharmanubhayatra hitva sallakshya chinmatrataya sadhatmanoho akhanda bhava parichiyate budhaihi evam mahavakya shatena kathyate brahmatmanoraikyam akhanda bhava. The whole thing is one sentence. So the Anvaya of this sloka, cha yatha saha devadattah ayam iti iha viruddha dharmamsham apasya ekata katyate. You can put a comma. Tata tattvamasi iti vakye ubhayatra viruddha dharman hitva chinmatrataya sallakshya sadatmanoho akhanda bhavaha budaihi parichiyate. Full stop. Evam mahavakya shatena brahmatmanoho akhanda bhavaha aikyam katyate. Full stop. So word meanings we will first see. Cha and. And means continuing from the previous, what was taught in the previous book. Yatha, just as. Saha, that. Devadattaha, Devadatta, I am this. Iti, thus. Iha, this sentence. Viruddha dharmamsham, in the contradictory part. Apasya, giving up. Ekatha, oneness. Katyate is said. Tatha, similarly. Tat, that. Tvam, you. Asi, are. Iti vakye, in that sentence. Ubhayatra, on both sides. Viruddha dharma, the contradictory of attributes. Hitva, giving up. Chinmatrataya, in the form of consciousness alone. Sallakshya, keeping in view. Sadatmanoho, of the Brahman and Jiva. Akhanda bhavaha, the undividedness. Budaihi, by vivekis, by jnanis. Parichiyate is understood. Evam, in this manner. Mahavakya shatena, by hundreds of Mahavakyas, Brahmatmanoho, of Brahman and Jiva, Akhanda Bhavaha, the undividedness, Aikyam, oneness, Katyate is revealed. So, here Adi Shankara is referring to a different example. This is the Shastric example. Just like we saw the example of Narmada Hostel Krishna and Krishnananda Saraswati, in the Shastra, the example which is given is the example of a person called Devadatta. So this Devadatta is again, the example more or less is the same. There was a Devadatta living in some place in a particular house which had certain features. That Devadatta is identified by all those features of physical features, etc. Then after a elapse of a long period of time, there is this Devadatta, aging Devadatta, all the features are gone, whatever physical features he had, they are all mostly vanished. So this Devadatta is again like I was introducing that Krishna to my friend Rama, this Devadatta is introduced. So the same thing is said, that Devadatta who was living in that particular house, that was the only house which was made of concrete in that whole, colony, that Devadatta is this Devadatta. This is the Shastric example. And Adi Shankara is taking that example. Of course, thanks to Swami Paramathanandadi, we use a contemporary example to understand. And just remember that example, the whole slokas will become very easy. Only thing is Krishna, that Narmada Astra Krishna and Krishna, Swami Krishnananda, we replaced by the name Devadatta. So, in these two slokas, what he is saying is, just as in the sentence, this is that Devadatta, the oneness is stated giving up the contradictory part. So too in the sentence, you are that Tattvamasi, giving up the contradictory parts in both the words and keeping in view the oneness in the form of consciousness alone, the undividedness of Brahman and Jiva is understood by Vivekis, by Jnanis. And it is in this manner that the undivided oneness of Brahman and Jiva is revealed by hundreds of Mahavakyas. That is the essence of these two slokas. So, for the application of third Lakshana, as I said, Shankaracharya takes a Sastric example. Saha Devadattaha Ayam. Or otherwise, in the Shastra, it is called Soyam Devadattaha. That Devadatta of the past and the Devadatta of the current time are one and the same. The equation is made and the equation becomes necessary because superficially both are appearing to be different. The past Devadatta had youthful features. The present Devadatta has got aging features. And because there is a superficial difference, we are not able to recognize the Devadatta. And therefore, for the sake of recognition, this is called Pratyabhignya. In technical terms, Pratyabhignya. For sake of recognition, this equation is made. So you just have to understand that Krishna word you have to replace with Devadatta. That's all. Therefore, the superficial physical features are set aside. So I said again, mentally set aside. Behind that youthful body, there was a person. Now, behind this aging body also, there is a person. That person, behind the variable bodies, is one and the same. And we have seen how do we do that. We take the primary meaning of both, remove the contradictory features, retaining the other part of the primary meaning, namely person behind both. The differences we are able to perceive, but the person behind, even though we do not even see the person with our own eyes, but that person is understood as one and the same. Therefore, Acharya says, Sahadevatatta ayam iha. Iha means asmin vakye, in this sentence. And cha ekatha katyate. The oneness of the past Devadatta and the present Devadatta is revealed. How? Viruddha dharmamsham apasya. The word amsham is very important. A part of the features is apasya, removed. As dhatu, apa plus as. As means to remove. As has got different meanings. Kshepada is also there to throw, to remove. So apasya means removing the contradictory physical features. Ekatha kathyate. Oneness is understood. Pujya Swamiji, Dayanand Saraswati, he gives another beautiful example, which again, people like us can very easily relate. That's a beauty with Pujya Swamiji. He is teaching a very complicated subject, but he uses very, very simple examples. So he gives a beautiful example in the form of a mathematical equation. He says there is an equation 4 plus 3 is equal to 9 minus 2. Keep it in your mind. 4 plus 3 is equal to 9 minus 2. Now, we all know a very good degree of arithmetic. So, just looking at that equation, we will say, yeah, it is correct. Well, how it is correct? All are different. 4 is a different number, 3 is a different number, 9 is a different number, 2 is a different number. Not only that, 4 and 3 have got a plus sign. 9 and 2 have got a minus sign, which are opposite, contradictory to each other. So symbols are different, numbers are different. So looking at these numbers superficially, it reveals only differences. A person who does not know arithmetic, he will question, how can there be an equal sign in between these two? All are different. So what we have to do, we have to apply our mind and go behind what is apparent. Behind 4 plus 3. We know 4 plus 3 is equal to 7. So mentally we keep 7 in one side. Similarly, we go and look at 9 minus 2, apply our knowledge, and then say, okay, 9 minus 2 is also 7. Thus, on either side of the equation, we recognize a number 7 which is invisible. It is not there anywhere in the equation. The number doesn't appear at all. But because of our knowledge, we know that behind both sides of the equation, there is this invisible number 7. And in that invisible 7, you see Aikyam and nod your head in acceptance. Even while the eyes continue to see only the difference. Similarly, between Jiva and Ishvara also, you see only differences physically. One is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Another is ignorant, limited by both time and space. Totally different. One is superior. Another considers himself to be inferior. But when you penetrate both of them and see the invisible consciousness behind both, you nod your head and say, it is a fantastic equation, greatest equation. It is a liberating equation. It is like the matter and energy equation, E is equal to mc square, which revolutionized the scientific field. Of course, today even scientific field has gone beyond E is equal to mc square. So only in a limited way we can take that as an example. They have come to quantum physics, and so many things have been happening in the scientific field. Today science recognizes the consciousness, but they don't give it a name consciousness. They do so many experiments. At one stage they called it God particle. In the initial stages of quantum physics. Then they came up with, oh no, it is not just a particle, it is a wave. Consciousness is a wave. Then further research, then they come, no, it is neither a particle nor a wave. It is a vehicle. So they are trying to close in to understand what this consciousness is, which all Upanishads are talking about so freely rather. Mahavakyam after Mahavakyam is all talking about consciousness only, and there are hundreds of them. Therefore, understanding this Mahavakyam Tattvamasi, that will revolutionize our life. I need not have any kind of inferiority complex at all. If God is superior, I am God. I am not even having an iota of inferiority. There is no difference between me and God. Ekata katyate. Then he explained how it is to be understood. He says, Yatha tata tattvamasi iti vakye. Yatha means he is referring to the example of Devadatta. Just as in the case of example of Devadatta, tata in the same manner, in the Mahavakya also, Tattvamasi iti vakye, in this Mahavakyam also, what is our first job? Don't take the Vachyartha. If you recall, when I introduced this topic, I said that we should not take Vyavaharika Atma and Vyavaharika Brahman. We have only to equate between Paramarthika Atma and Paramarthika Brahman. If you have forgotten that, please refer to the statement that class notes. Because Vyavaharika Atma and Vyavaharika Brahman are the dressed ones, the costumed ones. The dress being Sharira Trayam and Maya respectively. As long as you include the Sharira Trayam dress and Maya dress, there will be contradictory attributes between Jiva and Ishvara. Therefore, remove the body, mind, sense complex and inferior attributes of Jiva, remove Maya and the superior attributes of Ishvara, then you are not taking the Vyavaharikam Atma and Vyavaharikam Brahma. You are not taking the Vachyartham. Therefore, Viruddha Dharman Ubhayatra Hitva. Viruddha Dharma means opposite attributes, which are Maya and superior attributes on the one side related to Ishvara, the body, mind, sense complex and inferior attributes related to the Jiva. Ubhayatra means on either side, both in the case of Tat Padartha and Tvam Padartha. By understanding that these superior and inferior attributes are of a lower order of reality. They are not integral part of consciousness, which is a higher order of reality. So Hitva means having set aside, having removed mentally. So the first sloka ends, 79 sloka ends with the word Hitva. So having removed. So the sentence is incomplete with Hitva. That is why we have to read the sloka then with this next sloka. So the word Hitva in the 79th sloka has to be connected with Akhanda Bhavaha Parichiyate Budaihi in the first line of the 80th sloka. Then the second sentence will be complete. So as long as you have got Deha Abhimana, you will look at yourself from body, mind, complex, sense complex standpoint only. You will be a miserable individual. So first you remove those attributes. So once you come to Vedanta, you have to drop the Panchakoshas. Again, go back to our discussions in the Panchakosha Viveka topic. So at the time of Mahavakya Shravanam, the Panchakosha Viveka topic must be alive in the mind of the student. Then he will understand, oh yeah, I have seen this already. Acharya has told about this, we have discussed this. He will happily nod his head and say yes. But then generally it does not happen because all of us have got lot of worries, anxiety, so many problems, family, children, spouse, all those things are there. On a day-to-day life, Panchakosha Viveka is perhaps the last thing in the student's mind. And when the class gets over, he rushes back to all his problems. But Mahavakyam analysis doesn't work in this manner. Even if it works, it will not be retained. And that is why, whether we do physical sannyasa or not, mental sannyasa of Panchakosha is compulsory for Vedanta to click. And therefore he says, Viruddha Dharman Ubhayatra Hitva. Which means what? Sannyasam Swikritya. In the past, in olden days, they took physical sannyasa for this purpose. Now I cannot recommend that to all. I cannot recommend that to myself itself because there will be protests all over rather. Therefore, it is a better alternative to say, which thanks to Swami Puja Swamiji, Swami Paramathananda and all, it is a better alternative to say that may you become a mental sannyasi of Panchakoshas. And keeping alive the Panchakosha Viveka, we did elaborately. We have to keep that always in our mind. So this setting aside or keeping aside the Panchakosha, Jahati Lakshana part is over. Then what we should do? We should now bring in Ajahati part, Lakshana part. Yeah, we should not throw the baby with the bathwater, as they say, Only remove the Panchakoshas from the Jiva. Remove Maya from Ishvara. Then there is something left behind, which is included in the primary meaning. You must always remember, Jiva or Ishvara is a mixture of Atma and Anatma, Brahman and Maya. This you must remember. So where it's a mixture of Atma and Anatma, only the Anatma part we are removing, Atma part we are retaining. Similarly, in the definition of Ishvara, we are removing the Maya part and retaining the Brahman part. In the primary meaning, in the Vachyartha, both are included. So what is the left out portion? We saw Bodha Rupa Avasishyate. Verse number 60. Go back and check. When you remove in Panchakosha Viveka, when we remove everything, Acharya said, what is left is Bodha Rupa Avasishyate. So if I remove the body, mind, sense complex, I will be left, what will be left behind is pure Sakshi Chaitanyam. And that is what is highlighted in this sloka. So for which we have to employ Jahati Ajahati Lakshana or Bhagatyaga Lakshana. So we have seen Bhagatyaga Lakshana is a mixed Lakshana. Having employed the Jahati Lakshana part, you have to employ the Ajahati Lakshana also, by which you have to retain one part of the Jiva. Body, mind part you have to set aside. So what is left? Chinmatrataya Sanlakshya. So the word Tvam should be understood, it should be elevated to Sakshi Chaitanyam, the consciousness part. So both the student and teacher should now come to the common understanding. By the word Tvam, we are referring to Sakshi Chaitanyam. So at the time of Mahavakya, Shravanam, the student is in Samadhi as it were. Samadhi means he is absorbed in the meaning of Chaitanyam. He has forgotten his body, the mind, the family, fatherhood, motherhood, husbandhood, everything he has forgotten. All those things he has dropped. He is in absorption. Shravanam itself becomes Nididhyasa. That is the beauty. There is a beautiful mantra in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad where Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, Sahovacha Yajnavalkya. Then there is Priya Batare na sati priyam bhashase yehi asva vyakhyāsyāmi te vyachakshanasya tume nididhyasasva iti. He says, O Maitreyi, I shall tell you, as even I am teaching, may you convert Shravanam into Nididhyasanam. Shravanam becomes Nididhyasanam itself if I am able to come to the consciousness and completely forget my worldly individuality. And that is said here, Chinmatrataya Sanlakshya. We will continue in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Dhanyavada. Thank you all very much.
Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Any questions? No hands are going up.
Guruji, namaste. This is Lata.
Yes,
I didn't have
Lataji.
time to raise my hand up, but
I can't
I
hear.
just want
Your
to.
voice is very, very.
I said, just give me a few seconds, Guruji. I'll be back.
Okay. Shall I take a question from Sitaram that by that time?
My question is, what you are saying is that and this is the passage of time is to be ignored, and what is present is what is relevant. Is that the?
No. Even the present also. See what we have to, how to equate the two.
Because the past,
past and this present, which are two different pronouns.
No, okay. Let me. The individual, if we for a second get back into the Laukikam and say the body, mind, sense complex, the body, mind, sense complex remains the same in a different version, different format.
Looks like a different person.
But he is different. Mentally, intellectually, spiritually, or in terms of he's transformed. He has identified himself with a different Sakshi.
He is not. We have identified him.
Oh, okay.
Because he knows that he is the same person. You know that you are the Sitaram, same Sitaram when you were 2 years old, 5 years old, now 70 years old also, you are the same Sitaram, you know. I don't know that. Because when I have seen you when you were in, say, 20 years old, you are a very handsome Sitaram. Not that now you are not handsome, but different kinds of handsomeness, gray hair and, different with spectacles and things like that and all. I may not be able to recognize you today as the same Sitaram. So when somebody tells me, this is the same Sitaram, I will argue, what are you talking? That Sitaram, though, I know him very well. His image is very fresh in my memory. A so handsome guy, and this thing, that thing, and all. I will describe all your physical features. Then that other fellow will say, yes, yes, Baba. If you actually ignore those physical features and these physical features, the person behind both these different physical features is the same Sitaram. Will he say that or not? That is what we have to get. We have to just take, even the example of Sitaram is also name and form only, right? It's a name. We have to go one step more. Who is the person behind this Jiva consciousness? So if you remove all the different contradictory features or different features, what are you left with is only the pure consciousness, which we call Atma.
So the consciousness that pervaded him at the time of his birth continues, and he has identified himself with that consciousness totally.
Total. That is my reality. Everything else is only an appearance, which is changing. One thing that has not changed for you or for all of us is the name. If you actually think about it. When you are born, you are given a name of Sitaram, correct?
That's the only constant.
That's the only constant. So the nearest thing, because that name also is Agama Paina. It has come, it was born at one point in time, and that name also will go away. After our body falls, that name is associated with our body, not with our consciousness. But the consciousness is never ever going to fall away. It will continue after birth, taking new bodies in each birth. So we have to understand that is my reality. And in order to understand it a little more clearly in terms of trying to convince our intellect about this, we use some terminologies. Okay, this is my absolute reality, but the features which I have discarded are my transactional realities, my bodily realities, which is our lower order of reality than the absolute reality. These are the additional things that we add in order to make our understanding clear.
So the sum and substances, for the transaction purposes, I have certain features, but for the Paramarthika purposes, I am the consciousness.
Correct.
I was the consciousness before, I am the consciousness today.
Correct. Exact. That is
and even after me, I am with the consciousness.
I'll be consciousness. Whether this body remains or not, I will remain, because consciousness will always remain. It will never go away. It is the consciousness which sustains the entire cosmos.
And so I will be also gone.
What's that?
I also will be gone.
No, the I will be the interpretation of I, the meaning of I which we are taking now will be gone.
The bigger I will remain.
The bigger I will remain. When we identify with the higher nature, the bigger I, that will always remain. The smaller I will be gone.
The ego will be gone.
Ego will be gone. The ego I will be gone, and the absolute real I will remain always. And that is why the advantages of all these things is, if you assimilate this knowledge, fear of death is gone. Fear of old age is gone. Where you accept all that as at a particular level, all these are going to happen. I am going to become old. My knees are going to give me trouble. My back is going to give me trouble. I cannot avoid all of them, because that is the part and parcel of the features of this body, which is decaying. It will decay. Just like you keep from vegetables not in the fridge in summer but outside, 2 days it will decay. So similarly, this body also is a decaying body. And unfortunately, because our identification with the body is so strong, we have got all these fears and anxieties and things like that and all. Now, how to overcome? This is the way to overcome. Accept what is the nature of this body. Accept this is going to happen. Once acceptance is there, once you know what is going to happen, shock will not be there. isn't it? You know it's going to happen. Let it happen. I will try my best to help myself from the pain which all this is going to happen. But that also I can do only to a limited extent, isn't it? So that is why you have to move away totally from this, and that is what is the whole purpose of Vedanta.
Accept the change and accept the inevitable.
Exactly. It's all inevitable. Accept it. You can't postpone. You can probably slightly postpone it, but you cannot avoid it at all. That is the lesson that all of us we have to learn. And this, if I tell you once or twice, it is not going to stick inside. Repeatedly, we have to go on telling. You have to tell yourself this repeatedly. That is what Nididhyasanam is all about. Repeatedly, you have to tell yourself, this is what it is, this is what it is. So that's it. Okay.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you. Hari Om. Yes, Lataji, are you okay now?
Am I audible now, Guruji?
Yeah, now audible. Yeah.
Okay. Namaskaram, Guruji. Pranam once again. No, it is more than the doubt. I would say it's been a very exciting explanation. These past 3-4 sessions, the explanation has been really exciting and mind stimulating, mind boggling, and at the same time very revealing, Guruji, with all the different examples. And the process is like a scientific process of arriving at an equation, just like you said, E is equal to mc square. Thank you for the wonderful explanation, Guruji. That's wonderful. And now I see, I can understand why a lot of physicists and mathematicians, after a certain stage, they go philosophical. A lot of people in the philosophical world, when you go back to when you trace their what they were before, many of them have been scientists and physicists and mathematicians. So this is like working out a mathematical theory or a formula. This is not a theory. This is a fact, actually.
Yeah. It's a fact. It's a fact. When
it's a fact.
See, you are equating two unequatable entities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it requires a very high level of intellect on your part also to understand this.
Yes, Guruji.
You're absolutely right. The scientists, philosophers, mathematicians and all, at a stage in life when they actually understand the reality of the cosmos, So they come automatically, they become philosophical. Einstein was Advaita. Finally, he said that all the truth of the world is there in the Vedas.
Yes, Guruji. When he was questioned what was the source of his inspiration, I believe he said it. The Vedas are his source of inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
But the same realization is also arrived by people on the Bhakti path. Also, ultimately, they arrive at the same realization. Is what you had also mentioned in one of the classes earlier. Like during the Bhakti moment, there were a lot of devotees through devotion and complete surrender. So becoming one with the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, see, we are looking at it at surrender, bhakti, devotion, etc. All these are all only sadhanas. Eventually, their understanding what they've assimilated is what matters, rather. Right? So that is what gives them liberation or moksha.
Yes.
So, all these thought roots, you can do, as I said, karma yoga, there are different routes. But when you come to jnana yoga, there is only one route. So all these things, you are right. You can through karma yoga, you can reach this jnana yoga through different routes. And mostly, it also happens, you don't need to learn like we are learning. Many people realize this because they are coming with the past. In the past janma, they would have probably learned all these things.
Yes, and also,
so yeah.
And also, just by following the Bhakti Marga, it requires a lot of simplicity, I guess. But here, the more academic knowledge we have, the more complex and egoistic we become. And that simplicity disappears somewhere.
That's why this knowledge should not be academic. It should be practical. We must apply this knowledge to our day-to-day life.
Yes,
And
Guruji.
once you start doing that, the ego and all slowly start subsiding rather. That will happen. Yeah.
Yes, Guruji. Yeah.
That's a practical use of this knowledge.
Yes, Guruji. But this is what I'm saying. These thoughts have been coming to me for quite a long time, and I must have expressed these thoughts to you also earlier. They're not doubts, but they're just the monkey mind, more of the monkey mind saying these things that if God is parents, then why has He made this moksha or self-realization so difficult? If like no parent will make the children suffer so much and for so long, and the other anticlimax is once you have realized and once you know how to live life happily, but after that there's no more janma.
See, you have to find an answer for this. The questions are coming from which standpoint? That is the first thing you have to answer yourself. Am I asking these questions? Are these questions coming to my mind from the standpoint of Vyavaharika, transactions, empirical reality, or from the standpoint of Paramarthikam, the absolute reality? First, you have to answer that, because mostly what happens is, as they say, little knowledge is a dangerous thing. When we get some knowledge, we try to mix up all these things and then get confused. So we have to be very clear in our mind what we are talking about empirical reality and what we are talking about the absolute reality. Depending on that, the answer will be different. If I am talking about from the Paramarthikam reality point of view, I will tell you a very simple answer. I will say all these are all false. They are all appearances. There is no reality in that. Forget all these things. There is no suffering. There is no happiness. There is no karma. Nothing is there. There is no rebirth. I will tell from a standpoint of Paramarthika reality. Because from I as Paramarthika Atma, absolute reality, I don't have any death. I am eternal.
Yes, Guruji.
I don't have any body, mind, sense complex. I have no attributes. I am guna tita hai, kala tita. Right?
Yes, Guruji.
So from that standpoint, the answer will be different. But if you come to Vyavaharikam plane, my answer will be, oh, your own karmas are responsible for your, sufferings, and your
Guruji.
karmas have brought you to this Vedanta class. My answer will be different there.
Yes, Guruji.
So depending upon from which perspective the question is coming, an Acharya will give you an answer. Our journey is to keep transcending, like we transcend first the subjective reality stage, right?
Yes, Guruji.
There are people who, even though their eyes are open, they are still in the dream state only, rather. Right? The Pratibhasika Satyam is there still in that only. They will have lot of dreams and things like that. Impractical dreams they will be having. Correct?
Yes.
So they will have to graduate and cross that Pratibhasika stage, come to Vyavaharika stage. Then Vyavaharika stage is the one which is occupying almost 24/7 our life. So at that stage, you will have a lot of questions. But the questions, if you see, are coming from the point of view of understanding or partially understanding the Paramarthikam stage. You have heard about Atma and all those things, and you are importing all those things into Vyavaharikam, and the questions come in your mind.
Yeah.
So we have to be in our mind very clear. Draw the lines. Okay, this question is coming from Vyavaharikam process. That answer will be different than when we talk about Paramarthikam, knowledge or reality.
Yes,
We
Guruji.
have to be
And
very clear in our mind. And as even we go through all these classes, these sessions, these studies, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, these differences and all also will get separated and get boxed in their respective reality boxes.
yes, Guruji. And as this question was coming up again and again in the mind, and then suddenly the what has been I must have heard, I don't know how many times I have heard this from others and from you, and in the books, few books that I've had opportunity to go through, that the only goal of or the main goal of human life is Jivan Mukti or Atma Sakshatkar or Paramatma Sakshatkar, or both mean the same. That's why one takes a human birth, and then everything else is just, we just do it because we do it. But then the prime goal is this.
Yes.
The actual meaning of that somehow went home today.
It will
So,
go. Because you see, many questions that come to our mind are futuristic. We have not completed the course. We have not completed the study. Shravanam part is not over at all.
yes, Guruji.
So, Shravanam and Mananam, mostly they go together. Sometimes Mananam is ahead of Shravanam. And that is why, in our tradition, Acharyas do not encourage students to ask questions in the middle of the class. The reason being, if you allow that, many students will have many questions, the class will never be over rather. So you listen to the full class, and then at the end of the class, if there are questions, residual questions, where many questions which come in your mind will be answered in the class itself, in the talk itself, right? So
Yes.
whatever is residual, we have this, this satsang, and there we try to reconcile all our differences or different understandings and all. That is the purpose of this satsang. After
Yes.
the class, we have this question answer session.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you.
Blessed.
Thank you. Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Any other questions? Otherwise, shall we close the session? Okay, Hari Om. We will close the session. Continue next week. Okay.
Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Thank you.